Hello. In this video, I read out the Japanese folktales in English. I would be happy if you could press the channel subscription and thumbs up now. Let's begin. This is a story I heard from an old man in my village named Mohei. When I was little, long ago, there was a small castle in a place called Nakayama, near our village, and a lord named Nakayama lived there. In the mountains a little way from Nakayama, there was a fox named Gon the Fox. Gon was a lonely little fox who lived in a hole he had dug in a forest full of ferns. He would come out to the surrounding villages at night and during the day, and get up to mischief. He would go into the fields and dig up potatoes, set fire to the rapeseed husks that were hanging, pluck peppers from the back of farmers' houses and run away, and do all sorts of things. It was one autumn. It had been raining for 2 or 3 days, and during that time, Gon was unable to go outside and crouched in his hole. When the rain stopped, Gon crawled out of his hole with relief. The sky was clear and the nightingales were singing loudly. Gon came out to the bank of the village stream. Raindrops still glistened on the ears of silvergrass all around. The river usually had little water, but after 3 days of rain, it had risen to a great deal of water. The silvergrass and bush clover stalks along the riverbank, which normally never get submerged, were now lying sideways in the murky yellow water and being tossed about. Gon walked downstream along the muddy path. Suddenly, he saw a person in the river, doing something. Gon walked quietly into the thick grass so as not to be seen, and peered out from there. It's Heiju, Gon thought. Heiju had rolled up his tattered black kimono and was immersed in the water up to his waist, shaking his net vigorously as he caught fish. A round bush clover leaf was stuck to the side of his headband-covered face like a large mole. After a while, Heiju vigorously lifted the back part of the net, which had resembled a bag, out of the water. Inside was a jumble of grass roots, leaves, and rotten pieces of wood, but here and there, something white was sparkling. It was the belly of a large grasshopper and a large kitsune. Heiju threw the eel and kitsune into the net along with the rubbish. Then he tied the top of the bag again and put it back in the water. Heiju then climbed out of the river with the net, left it on the bank, and ran upstream, seemingly looking for something. When Heiju had disappeared, Gon jumped out of the grass and rushed over to the net's side. He felt like playing a little prank. Gon grabbed the fish out of the net and enthusiastically threw them into the river below where the net was. Each fish made a thud sound as they dove into the murky water. Finally, he tried to grab a thick eel, but it was so slippery that he couldn't get a hold of it with his hands. Gon grew impatient and stuck his head into the net and put the eel's head in his mouth. With a squeal, the eel wrapped itself around Gon's neck. At that moment, Heiju roared from the other side, "Oh no, you thief!" Gon jumped up in fear. He tried to throw the eel away and run away, but the eel was wrapped around Gon's neck and wouldn't let go. Gon then jumped sideways and ran away as fast as he could. He looked back from under a Chinese holly tree near the cave, but Heiju was not chasing him. Relieved, Gon bit off the eel's head, and finally removed it, placing it on a leaf of grass outside the cave. About 10 days later, as Gon was passing behind the house of a farmer named Yasuki, he saw Yasuki's wife getting her hair done in the shade of a fig tree. As he passed behind the house of the blacksmith Shinbei, Gon saw his wife having her hair washed. Something's going on in the village, Gon thought. What is it? An autumn festival, perhaps? If it's a festival, there should be sounds of drums and flutes. And first of all, flags should be flying at the shrine. As he walked with these thoughts in mind. Before he knew it, he was in front of Hyoju's house, with a red well in front of it. There were many people gathered in the small, dilapidated house. Women dressed in formal kimonos and with towels hanging from their waists were lighting a fire in the stove outside. Something was boiling in a large pot. Ah, it's a funeral, Gon thought. I wonder who died in Hyoju's house. After noon, Gon went to the village cemetery and hid behind the 6 Jizo statues. It was fine weather, and in the distance the roof tiles of the castle shone. In the cemetery, the Higan flowers stretched out like a red cloth. Then, from the direction of the village, a bell rang, clang, clang. It was the signal for the funeral to leave. Soon, the funeral procession, clad in white kimonos, began to appear one by one. The sounds of conversation grew closer. The funeral procession entered the cemetery. As the people passed, the Higan flowers were trampled down. Gon stretched out to see. Heiju was wearing a white hairpiece and was offering an IHAI memorial tablet. His face was usually as lively as a red sweet potato, but today it looks somehow withered. Ah, it's Heiju's mother who has died, Gon thought, and hid his head. That night, Gon thought in his hole. Hyoju's mother must have been in bed saying she wanted to eat eel. So Hyoju got really excited and brought out the net. But I was a prankster and caught an eel instead. So Hyoju couldn't give his mother an eel to eat. She must have died without even thinking about it. Oh, she must have died thinking, I want to eat eel, I want to eat eel. I wish I hadn't been so prankster. Hyoju was threshing wheat by the red well. Until then, Hyoju had lived a poor life with his mother, but after she died, he was all alone. Is Hyoju all alone, just like me? Gon thought as he watched from behind the storeroom. As Gon left the storeroom and started to head in the opposite direction, he heard the voice of someone selling sardines. Somewhere. I'm selling sardines. I'm selling lively sardines. Gon ran towards the source of the lively voice. Then Yasuki's wife called out from the back door, give me some sardines. The sardine seller parked his cart loaded with baskets of sardines by the side of the road, grabbed the shiny sardines with both hands, and carried them into Yasuki's house. Gon took advantage of the gap and grabbed 5 or 6 sardines from the basket and ran back in the direction he came from. He then threw the sardines into Hyoju's house through the back door and ran back to the hole. Looking back from the top of a hill along the way, Gon could see Hyoju still threshing wheat by the well. Gon felt that he had done one good thing to atone for the eel. The next day, Gon picked up a pile of chestnuts in the mountains and carried them to Hyoju's house. Looking in through the back door, Hyoju was half-eaten in his lunch, holding his rice bowl and lost in thought. Strangely, there was a scratch on Hyoju's cheek. As Gon wondered what had happened, Hyoju muttered to himself, I wonder who threw some sardines into my house. Because of that, they thought I was a thief and gave me a rough time at the sardine shop, he muttered. Gon realized that he had made a mistake. Poor Hyoju must have been beaten so badly by the sardine merchant that he even sustained such wounds. Thinking this, Gon quietly went around to the storeroom and left the chestnuts at the entrance before going back. The next day, and the day after that, Gon picked up some chestnuts and brought them to Hyoju's house. The day after that, he not only brought chestnuts, but also 2 or 3 matsutake mushrooms. It was a moonlit night. Gon went out to play. After passing under Nakayama-sama's castle and going a little way, he heard someone coming from the other side of the narrow road. He could hear voices. The pine crickets were chirping, chinchirorine, chinchirorine. Gon hid on one side of the road and stayed still. The voices got closer and closer. It was Hyoju and a farmer named Kasuke. That's right, Kasuke, Hyoju said. Huh? Something really strange has been happening to me lately. What? Ever since my mother died, I don't know who it was, but they've been giving me chestnuts and matsutake mushrooms every day. Who? I don't know. They leave them without me knowing. Gon followed the two of them. Is that true? Of course it is. If you don't think it's true, come and see me tomorrow. I'll show you the chestnuts. Wow, strange things happen. Sometimes. The two of them walked in silence. Kasuke suddenly looked behind him. Gon flinched and stopped, shrinking in size. Kasuke didn't notice Gon and just kept walking. When they reached the house of a farmer named Yoshibe, the two of them went in. They could hear the sound of a mokugyo, wooden fish, beeping. A light was shining through the paper window, and a large shaved head was reflected and moving around. Gon squatted by the well, thinking, he must be having his annual meal. After a while, 3 more people came into Yoshibe's house. They could hear the sound of sutras being read. Gon squatted by the well until the annual meal was finished. Hyoju and Kasuke went home together again. Gon followed them, wanting to hear what they had to say. He stepped over Hyoju's silhouette. When they reached the front of the castle, Kasuke spoke up. What you just said must have been the work of God. Huh? Heiju looked at Kasuke in shock. I've been thinking about it ever since, and I think it's not a human being, it's a god. God takes pity on you being all alone, and so he gives you all sorts of things. I wonder if that's true. Exactly. So you should thank God every day. Okay. Gon thought, wow, this guy is boring. I bring him chestnuts and pine trees, and he doesn't thank me. But instead thanks God. I'm not interested. The next day, Gon took the chestnuts and went to Heiju's house. Again. Heiju was making rope in the storeroom. So Gon sneaked in through the back door of the house. At that moment, Hyoju suddenly looked up. And there was a fox going into the house. That damn fox, Gon, who stole my eel the other day, is back to play tricks on me again. Alright. Hyoju stood up, took his matchlock gun from the barn, and loaded it with gunpowder. Then, sneaking over to Gon, he fired a shot at him as he was leaving the door. Gon fell to the ground. Hyoju came running over. Looking inside the house, he noticed chestnuts stored in a pile on the dirt floor. Oh, Hyoju said in surprise, looking down at Gon. Gon, it was you. The one who always gave me chestnuts. Gon nodded, his eyes completely closed. Hyoju dropped his matchlock gun with a thud. A thin stream of blue smoke was still coming out of the muzzle. That's that.